What is up, Go players, young and old, new and old? Is in Sensei here, and I'm bringing to you the next episode of the beginner series that I'm trying to start. Basically, trying to take somebody from knowing zero things about the game to knowing some things about the game. Enough so that they can have fun, they can get better on their own, and they can really appreciate this game without trying to climb the learning curve, falling off, and never getting back on again. Because that's really easy to do. With me, I have Kyle Lum, one of my good friends, and somebody I just taught the game to. I would say, what, 2.5 weeks ago?
Yeah, the last time you came to visit. So
Ish. Yeah. So he's pretty new at it. He saw me doing it like last year a few times, but most of what I was trying to talk to about the game like went right over his head. And so this year was a few weeks ago. We're like, all right, let's like actually try to like teach you 9x9 right now. And how would you say it's been so far?
it's been a lot of fun. I think one of the things with being around Mike is that when he explains things and gets really excited about it, it's really easy to get excited about it too. So Mike came up for his birthday and showed my friend, our other mutual friend Jake and I how to play. And actually, him and I have been playing, and then I've been playing online and following Mike's footsteps, kind of, and starting to get into it a lot more. So it's been a lot of fun. And there's a lot
Awesome.
of really cool concepts you learn through Go that apply to life too, which are things I think Mike and I both are interested in.
Oh yeah, metaphors are life. Metaphors are everything, and Go has a ton of them. Um, so definitely is something that can be really fun when you're first starting out. But I remember when I first started out, it was extremely daunting and extremely scary. It's really easy to get caught up in I don't know what to do sort of feeling. Did you feel that way when you first started?
I still feel that way a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times too where I know that there's probably a better move, like I'm in for a given situation, and I'm just like, I don't know what it is. So I kind of guess, and half the time it works out, half the time it definitely doesn't.
Yep. And like that's part of it though too. And so I think a lot of beginners when you try to start the game is they want to feel like they know what to do right away. But this isn't the kind of game where that's going to happen. This is the game where you're gonna be not understanding really what the best move is, and it's very clear how little you know when you play this game. But the more experience you get, and the more it starts clicking, the more rewarding it is. Honestly, it's really easy to forget once you've been playing Go a long time, like what beginners struggle with, and that's sort of why I wanted to bring you on because it'll give a
Yeah.
really great perspective and sort of keep me reined in when I'm trying to explain stuff. Because if you can understand it, that means another player that's been playing for a few weeks will understand it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So enough about the philosophy. Let's start to try to get into some, actual planning and some actual moves here. So if you're watching this and you've seen my other video, I'll put it in the description below. It's just a recap on the rules and the nuances of capturing. Really, everything you need to know to go from zero to I sort of know how to play. I sort of know the rules um, in 20 minutes. I told you at the end of that video, I gave you some sites to play and I gave you some resources, and I said that the best thing to do for that week is to just play around. Be like a kid swimming for the first time. Try new things, figure out what works, figure out what doesn't. Just like play. Don't try to win, just like get experience with it. So you should have a few games under your belt right now. Um, what I want to do now for this video is sort of talk with Kyle about what he's done to sort of actually delve down and be like, okay, like let's actually try to start understanding this game and take it and get into it a little more seriously. It's going to be frustrating, but extremely worthwhile. So, Kyle, what would you say that in terms of actually in terms of the game, what concepts of the game did you find most helpful to you in trying to piece together like what the next move is?
So I think when the first weekend when you showed Jake and I how to play, something that Jake did very well and that I didn't, which caused me to lose every game. I think I was overly aggressive in trying to say, "Oh, I want the whole board worth of territory," and I would space my pieces out, which is one of the things you were talking to me about earlier. Just staying connected is super important. And what I
Mm-hmm.
would do for the first, and I was doing it online when I started a lot too. I would leave too many openings that I did not have enough time to cover.
So now we can take this position. That's a good point. If you have places, right, A or B, how do you know which one to pick? So let's say black wanted to try to surround white. This is the surrounding game after all. And black has the choice of A or B. We can see that A is a little bit more severe. We're definitely hampering white, and we're stopping white from extending to the edge of the board. However, and you don't need to worry about why, anybody watching, but just notice that I'm going to show this in future videos. This shape right here is disconnectable in terms of white can play this diagonal, and no matter what black does, his stones are going to get disconnected. And so, Kyle, that was a great point about what you said. If you're trying to pick between two moves that accomplishes some goal, if you want to try to surround territory, but you're not sure which move to pick, try to pick the one that will keep you connected most easily. You can see B, it's in a really, it's one space away from his friends. If white tries to come in the most passive way, black can give Atari, white has to come out, and black can connect one of his stones. If white tries to come in, then we see black can just Atari again, go down, and black can follow, and from there these white stones are not looking very comfortable. So these one spaces are much stronger. And as you play Go, you'll see, oh, like what about this move? Maybe neither of those. Maybe this one's a good medium between the two. But definitely trying to accomplish your goal in a way that keeps you connected is a great thing to try to keep in the back of your mind when you're starting to try to figure out a method to this madness. In terms of practice for people that are just starting to play, I think that there's a way to play that gets you really frustrated, and then there's a way to play that actually gets you better. So the way to play that will get you really frustrated is to play games and not think about what happened during the game afterwards, and keep playing and with the intent of winning. That's the way to get frustrated. So if you find yourself you're just ripping through game after game, as soon as that game is done, you go on to the next one. You might find that, especially if you lose a lot in a row, you'll get frustrated. Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah. I texted you. There's one day, so I had started our friend Jake and I started playing the same day, and we had the same amount of knowledge about the game, and I lost every single game by a lot, which was really annoying because I knew he knew just as much as I did. Well, apparently not, because he kept winning, but that was frustrating. And then I would go on to, I'm on OGS and started playing 9x9 games against other people, and I kept losing those too. And then the first day, I lost like 6 times in a row, and it just like, I'm a pretty competitive person, so losing doesn't sit very well.
Yeah.
But I did exactly what Mike was talking about, and I was playing, not really reviewing my games as I did them, especially the ones in person with Jake, because we would clear the board, and I continued to lose and wasn't really learning why. So I can definitely vouch for it. That is what happens if you play that way.
Yes. That's not to say to not play a lot. There's a proverb in Go that says if you want to get better, if you want to learn Go, lose your first 100 games as fast as you can. The reason being is that if you want to learn this game, you're going to have to lose, because the only way you can learn what to do that's better than what you're currently doing is by losing, because that means someone is doing something better than you. And that is one of the most key things. You need to play a lot. But the other piece to this puzzle that would keep people from getting frustrated is you need to, after each game, take one thing, just one, that you feel like you messed up. It doesn't matter what it is. You could have missed an Atari. You could have been playing the game, and you could be playing black, and you could have just be doing things, and oh, I let white capture this stone. And as you're going through, and you might have not realized that and realized how much that ruined your position until you go back, review the game, and be like, well, that was a problem. I let my stone get captured. And then so you can even write it down. Like don't like watch out for your stones getting captured. It sounds really stupid, but it's something beginners mess up. Like if you're trying to learn all these rules at the same time, you're gonna miss stupid things like my stone's gonna get captured unless I save it. So when you're playing, always try to go back, take one thing, doesn't matter how small, how insignificant, just learn something from it. Then, after you lose 50 games, you will have 50 lessons in your logbook. And as long as you don't repeat those, you're bound to improve. And I think, Kyle, you can probably attest to that working out pretty well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the times, I think the one Mike just mentioned of missing Ataris, you can be like so in the zone about like what you're trying to do, and you forget that if you don't go in one spot, someone's going to kill you. So, but it definitely does help a lot. And doing it right after you do play the game, I think also, while the game's still fresh in your mind, is a lot very helpful. So, versus doing a couple in a row and then trying to go back and be like, oh, well, you're not quite in the mindset of the game that you had just finished playing. So, I think doing it immediately is probably also the best time to do it.
Right. So play often, lose often, review often. So getting discouraged is the worst thing for your Go game at this stage.
I completely agree with you, Mike. And I think the way you've presented it and like told me to take things out of my games is at the beginning when I was getting really frustrated, but like so say like a week later, I would be think I'm in the middle of this game and all of a sudden I lose a ton of pieces or something goes wrong and a section of my stuff gets captured and it almost kind of switches your mindset to be instead of being like really mad that I just lost, it's kind of almost exciting to be like, oh, you know what? I wonder where I messed up in that last sequence that I could, if I could have saved those pieces or
Mm-hmm.
whatever scenario could have happened. And it almost makes it more exciting and you get kind of excited to lose because you know that's an opportunity that you're going to learn something and be better the next time that comes up.
Mm-hmm. Not so. Now that we have sort of the practice regimen taken out, I want to end this with kind of going back to the full circle. The initial Go lesson that we learned for today, which was how important staying connected was. This was actually, Kyle, this was one of your games,
Yep, from yesterday,
and
actually.
you destroyed. Um, it happened. You destroyed this player in this game by staying connected, and this other player's downfall was that he let his groups get split and subsequently captured. And I think going through this game, beginner players watching can get a very real sense of how much power you can get with a strong connected group, especially after you've captured something. So we're going to just do a quick review, and I'll probably stop at sort of a few moves and sort of ask you what your thoughts were and why you did certain things.
Okay.
So this is interesting. You started on the side, or on the corner this time.
This wasn't me. This was the
Oh,
other.
I'm
I was,
sorry. Okay. So actually, yeah, good to clarify because I don't actually have the players on here.
yeah.
So you were playing white in this game, and your opponent was
Yep.
black. So he started in the corner, and that's an okay, it's reasonable. Because the board is so small, the most common move for black in the beginning is a centered move. Um, Puts pressure on wherever white decides to go right from the very beginning and makes it the game a little bit difficult for white because black has a lot of options playing in the center. But he won the corner, so that's fine. Um, you decided to play in the middle and play close to the center and respect the fact that he had a stone there, so you kept your distance. So nothing really to comment on so far.
Yep.
And here he is playing a very large move away from his stone to try to, I guess, make some territory on the right. So what were you thinking when he played this, and what were you trying to do?
So, well, I think goes back to what you mentioned. His stones are so far apart, and actually, this is a unique game for me. If someone plays black anywhere but the middle, unless it's like one of the immediate vertices around it. I'll usually play in the middle, and because I like being able to have the control through the middle of the board and to stay connected, and that's something I figured out about my style. And so
Mm,
when he played there, and because I went, I guess, a spot down, I was looking. I think I don't know where I went, but yeah, I was about to say my intuition tells me I would have played f6
hmm
because that's a way to split. And if he tries to like go at, I don't know, um, e5 or f5, I could foreseeably get around that and still connect up to my e4 stone.
Right. So you're trying to put pressure on this stone that he played while keeping him disconnected from his other stone, and that's a very reasonable thing to try to think about. We're not going to get into crazy sort of variations like what would happen if black cut here,
Yeah,
what white should do, because that's not really the scope of the lesson. Because keep in mind, you learn things incrementally. So even if you're making mistakes in your game right now, you're playing against people at your same level. Once you
yeah,
master this concept better than them, you'll move up, and then you'll learn the other parts of your game that you need to fix. So right now we're going to sort of focus on getting connected. So regardless of what black could have done, black decided to attach onto your stone.
yeah,
So black isn't thinking about connectedness. Keep in mind, black is just thinking about making points. We can see very clearly what black is doing and what he wants to do. He just wants to make points on the side of the board. He doesn't care that he can't link up to his black stone.
right.
We see you very aggressively go for the Hane around. Um, if you wanted to keep him disconnected, something as simple as this is
Yep.
less complicated to keep in mind, because there you'll
But
get those players where they'll cross cut you, um, and then that'll be a nightmare to try to read out.
yeah,
Um, but the idea of trying to keep it disconnected is good, um, and then you just have to sort of polish how exactly you do that.
would f5 be a viable spot to go on my next move or not really?
Depends on what he does. Um,
Because then that would
F5 kind of just,
is like very passive.
yeah, it does. Especially if black plays something like this, you might want to keep him from cutting through you,
Yeah,
depending on how you see that happening. Um, but it's kind of up in the air. It depends on what black does.
yeah,
This is certainly cuttable right now. These white stones aren't connected. We can see that if white just Tanuki somewhere, um, black playing here, here, and here.
yeah.
Uh, white's now disconnected. And beginners, I will be going through shape. I'll be giving you guys a shape video soon, maybe next week, to sort of break it down for you guys what it means to have stones that can be connected or disconnected. But for now, I just want to get the main concepts, and we see what white and black are trying to do. White is trying to keep black disconnected, regardless of how successful or not it was. The idea is white is trying to keep black disconnected. Black just wants points. So now we go in the game. He Hanes. Black does go for this.
Yep.
And smart. So instead of doing what I did here and allowing an Atari, right? White pulls back, keeping his stones more connected and a little more solid. Now we sort of see black trying to attack your stones. He's trying to, I suppose, disconnect them. You just calmly connect, and I would think that even though you don't have territory right now, there's definitely places for you to get some. If white was good at attacking and really good at using this influence, which I'm not as great at, which is why I tend to not do that style, something like this is possible. You don't know why yet, because long story short, that's an Atari. Black has to fill in, and that's a ladder that goes straight down.
Oh, yeah.
If black decides to do this, then white just calmly goes here. Black can't do this because that goes nowhere. And even if black were to go somewhere else, this Atari on those 3 stones captures. So white has a lot of really strong ways to use this sort of center group against one of black's 2 weak groups. It really comes down to style, I think, personally,
Yeah.
and who is better at what they're trying to do. Again, with beginner games, it's tough to really say, oh, like black's ahead, white's ahead, because when you're a beginner, you're not. It's not. You don't have the skill set to have a game and be like, oh, white's ahead, black's ahead. You're trying to develop other things. You're trying to develop connectivity. You're trying to develop fighting strength, and you're trying to develop simple tactics. So usually, the things that decide a game from between beginners isn't, oh, I don't have as much territory as him in the beginning, but who leaves like that first weakness? You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
Okay, so let's move on. Black tries to cut off this stone, but because you've been doing your life and death and you've been doing your practice, you know that that is impossible. You correctly go up. Black tries to fight it, and you calmly deny him that fight. So this was a very dubious sort of move. This was the perfect sequence to play out because we can see, and I think black will do this. Yep. Black tries to escape, and you calmly Hane. Black tries to cut, but those stones were in Atari.
Yeah.
So that is what the experience and going through your games gets you. I know for a fact that if this was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you would not have done that.
No.
You would not have done that and been able to capture those stones. But you did recognize that pattern from a previous game, right?
Yeah, that, and then the also just recognizing. I think you watched one of my games where you told me not to panic, and I did, and I ended up losing because of it. But if you go forward a couple moves, when he cut me the second time, or like tried to cut her,
There.
yeah,
Mm.
I think previously I would have panicked, but because I knew it's going to take him at least 2 moves to capture that stone that he put, yeah. And I knew I still had 2 moves to get his other, so it really didn't matter
No.
that he did that. So that was something that definitely looking through games, I understood by now, and that I didn't need to respond immediately. Or I did, but like I was okay. Like I was safe and I was comfortable with it.
Right. And just from a very basic sort of standpoint here, we see, yeah, white has 2 liberties right now. And it's white's move, keep in mind. And black has 2 liberties. And so if it's white's move and you both have the same amount of liberties, white just takes away 1 and black can't catch up. So we see white do this and now capture. Now white can, now this group is looking weak and this group is open to white's stones that can just come in and ruin its day. And you guys will see black makes a slow move, so does white, but that's fine. Black is playing extremely aggressive, and once again, he's forgetting the rule of keeping his stones connected. This thing, this shape here, especially with white's move, is not connected right now, which you demonstrate. You give Atari, and then Atari from this side. Now, a little bit dangerous. A little bit dangerous. You left some cut points here. Black could save himself this way. So you had the right idea, but
Yep.
a better thing to do may have been to simply descend. And that way, if white does decide to cut, you've got this ladder. And if you don't know what a ladder is, beginners, I will give you that video too. Don't worry. This is just a preview, a sample of things to come. And if black decides to try to escape with this, you could even give an Atari on this stone. So just in a very basic way, trying to keep him disconnected was a good move. You could have even let him be like, okay, fine, like I'll let you connect here, but now I'm going to take this entire corner. And all this is made possible because this center was so strong. So as long as you stay connected to this center group, you could wreak havoc.
Right.
So we definitely see some technical misplays from both sides, but because they're both beginners, it's okay. It balances out. You could say, oh, if black did this, this was a bad move because black could have done this. That's maybe true, but that's not really what we're trying to focus on right now to try to help beginners out. But the fighting skills will come the more you practice them. This lesson is to show you that fighting's a lot easier if you're connected, because you're leaving less weak groups and you can help each other out more easily. We can see right now what happened was black tried to escape, white followed. Once again, black is playing a move that is not connected with his stones, right? If we see black simply do this, come here, that would be very strong, taking advantage of the fact that white isn't connected. But we see black makes a move that doesn't connect his stones. You capitalize, and that is one move too short, and now you can capture. So he tries to take, and once again, not respecting the fact that he needs to connect his stones. All white has to do is play here and here, and he can even capture those three if he wanted. Let's see what you did. And that's what you did. Nice.
Yeah.
So, and these are sorts of things you learn from reviewing your game and just from playing games. And that works too. That's just as good. And so now you capture those four. Once again, he's making this. So if he went back and reviewed this game, he would be 10 times stronger because he's making the same mistake every time he's playing moves that get him disconnected from his other stones and letting them be captured. Oops. Is that what you played? Yes. And I think from there, black resigned because it would be very hard to keep both of these groups alive, and white clearly has much more strength to do what he wants. We even see that if we just fill down here, the more black protects this group, the more in danger this one is. And even if we let black, this isn't alive. I mean, this is definitely dead. But let's say this wasn't. With Comey, white still has more points. So the game was over. And by staying connected, you managed to outplay your opponent and get a very solid victory.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was good. And it's definitely a testament to reviewing your games, thinking about why you lost, and trying to not repeat those mistakes. And I guarantee you, like I said, your friend went back to this game, saw that he's been making the same mistake, playing these diagonal moves. Right here. Wait, where is one? Here is one. Right here. That let him be cut. And then this one. And not defending it, right? That let him be cut. And then this one. That let him be cut. We see that it's the same pattern, right? And people are going to make those mistakes, but you won't understand that you made those mistakes unless you go back and look at your games with fresh eyes.
Definitely.
So that is all I really wanted to sort of impress upon you for this first lesson, for this these first steps that you're making. Connectedness is one of the most important things to learn in Go, and there's tons of other things to learn, but those will come. I think connectedness is a good first lesson. And I also taught you how to practice, how to review your games, and how to keep from getting demotivated by really trying to learn from each opportunity. So Kyle, what sorts of things, how do you feel about how far you've come, and what are you looking at to try to improve on for the future?
I think I feel pretty good, especially with how quickly losing a lot of games teaches you how to play better. And I think it's definitely gone a lot quicker because of that recommendation you made. So thank you, Mike. I realize though that I definitely still have a lot to learn because in this game I'm 22Q against the 22Q. I'm still consistently losing to 20 Qs and 21 Qs. So I think I still have a lot of things to figure out before I start getting a lot better, but I'm definitely on the way there.
Great, great. That's good to hear. And keep playing. It's gonna come, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be really exciting. With that, I will leave you guys. I hope you learned sort of some tips. I hope you got some ideas on how to practice. Maybe you can sort of understand the basic concept of connectivity a little bit better. If you weren't sure why I made the moves that I did, if you didn't understand why some things were bad and some were good, that's okay. This is meant to be sort of a initial taste. I'm gonna make technical videos. I'm gonna show you guys the basic moves that are good and why they're good in the future. So this is more just to get your brain sort of thinking about what you need to think about and to develop a good way to practice. With that, keep playing, good luck, and I will see you guys next week for a new lesson. Kyle, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Mike.